The wildest day of the NFL season is upon us. Welcome into Sports Talk with Hawk. Thank you so much for joining us on a gorgeous Tuesday early afternoon. I know I got this podcast released a bit earlier. We're going to do our halfway check, halfway check in. We are now halfway through the season. Trade deadline day is today. By the time you're listening to this, multiple trades may have already happened. 10, 20, 30. I don't know. It could be wild. If it's silent, I know there's going to be a lot of fan bases that are questioning their GMs. And yes, I am absolutely pumped for what this could be. Absolutely pumped. If nothing else, it's going to set up a really exciting second half of the year. So today, what's the agenda? What are we going to try to get through today? I know we did the first quarter in review. Now we're going to do, the halfway check-in. Where are we at right now, 9 weeks into an 18-week season, heading into week 10? What do we think we need to see? What are teams that we got to worry about? What are teams that are there? We already know at the end of the year there is for sure 2 head coaching jobs that will be open to take. The New York Jets, and if it wasn't for the New York Jets and Woody Johnson, I would have been right by saying Dennis Allen was going to get fired early. I said he was going to get fired by Thanksgiving. I was correct. I told you the Saints would be a bad team. I said earlier in the year, I don't know about them. Thought it was a little bit smoke and mirrors, and they have rattled off 7 straight losses. I'm sorry. That's bad. And Carolina, give credit to Dave Canales. Benching Bryce Young. Dalton gets injured. Bryce has looked better since coming back from the benching. Better, I did not say great, I said better. He's looked competent. And to his credit, yesterday he did not do anything that made them lose that game. In fact, he led the game-winning drive to go down there and take the lead away from the Saints. Good for Bryce Young. Get a fourth quarter comeback win and get a victory formation kneel down that you get to do. Congratulations, Bryce. That's what it feels like to be a winning NFL quarterback. Now, we're going to run down the list. So this is kind of how we're going to do this today. We got the AFC, we got the NFC. If you're listening to this, the Chiefs had just beaten the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 30-24 in overtime. Tampa Bay is scrappy. They got an easier schedule after next week, which next week they play the 49ers. I think they'll lose that game as well. Kyle Shanahan coming off of a bye week is basically unbeatable. So yeah, I think they'll lose, but they do have winnable games down the stretch and could still try to put their name in the hat for a wild card spot. But let's start out with this. We are on a tear. So I mentioned it in the Saturday Night Live Picks podcast that I did, which thank you to all those who listened. It's the most viewed. I think it's like the 4th most viewed podcast. It was live. I appreciate it. I did it right before bed. I was finishing watching college football. What a day of college football there was. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. And then we did my picks. And I told you guys I have a pick'em league where I'm picking against the spread. And we've been on kind of a heater here recently. I went back and looked, and I was actually ranked like 63rd now 4 weeks ago. And I have gained up so much ground that I am now 15th in this league of picking against Vegas, picking against the spread. We went 12-3 again this week in my picks against the spread. And my picks from Saturday night, we went 6-1. I picked the Panthers. I picked the Panthers to beat the Saints. I could have picked the Chargers to beat the Browns and went undefeated. I didn't. I thought the Browns were going to play better. The Chargers don't have a legitimate. Ladd McConkey is good, but I thought the Brown defense was going to show up better. Well, unfortunately, can't show up better when your quarterback throws 3 interceptions. But we got everything else right. The Lions we got right. The Rams in overtime we got right. We got the Falcons right. We got the Panthers right. We got the Vikings right. We got the Commanders right. It was a fantastic day. We went 6-1. We are now 33-30 on the year in Hawks pick 6 plus the extra point. So big week when it came to picks. Here's what that means. It's getting a little bit more predictable. The Saints are a fire sale now. That is officially big changes. After they fired Dennis Allen, everything came out. Look for big changes in the New Orleans Saints organization. Yeah, they're going to cut cap. Look for them to make at least 2 trades tomorrow. Get ready. Try to get ready for the draft, the 2025 draft, giving the next head coach capital to work with to rebuild this team to compete in the NFC South, let alone the NFC, just the NFC South. The Panthers, I still think are going to be sellers. They know they have things they need to build. They are getting more competitive. So I don't want to take away from what they've done. They have been competitive. They have not been a pushover. Okay? You got to give them respect, and you give them credit where credit is due. They have not been a pushover. They've been a very decent team. Dave Canales has gotten them playing hard. Bryce Young, since the benching has come back, played much better. So the Panthers are a viable team, but they still need a lot of help. They got a lot of holes to fill. They got a lot of things they got to take care of. That is going to be what I think they focus on. They probably will move off of Thielen. They'll probably move off of Hubbard. Get picks for both of those guys, which would be completely worth it. But let's start with, let's go bottom to top in each of the divisions. Now, because of the Panthers' win, it is now official. We have no teams with less than 2 wins in the NFL right now. No teams with less than 2 wins in the NFL right now. That's pretty good. Week number 9. Now, granted, the Panthers just won, so but so did the Titans. The Titans also just won. So, no team underneath 2 wins. The bottom of the barrel is 2 wins. And you start looking at these conference standings, and we're going to go through, and hopefully, I don't want this to be, it probably will, because I say this all the time, I don't want this to be a 50-minute podcast, but you know how that goes. So let's run through what we have right now. Right now, as we sit here, what do we have going on in the NFC? Okay? So in the NFC, number 16 is the New York Football Giants at 2-7. They will be selling off for next year. I think that's really clear at this point. They'll be selling off for next year. They know they're moving off of Daniel Jones. There have been rumors. I do not know how legitimate But there have been some rumors that they've reached out to Carolina about potentially getting Bryce Young. I don't know if Canales loves Bryce Young or not. I don't know what their feelings are in Carolina. He got benched. He's come back. He's looked better. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not. Maybe a change of scenery is what he needs. I don't think New York is that scenery, but hey, nonetheless. So you got the Giants sitting at 2-7, fire sale. The New Orleans Saints in 15th are sitting at 2-7. They're a fire sale. Get picks, drop cap, get picks, drop more cap. That's the cycle from now until basically free agency starts. Get picks, drop cap. In 14th, you have the Panthers, who just beat the Saints. And they're a feisty little team that does have the ability to potentially knock off a couple more wins and get to 5 wins. I said at the beginning of the year, they could get to 5 wins. It is very plausible. But then there's this team sitting here at 13th. And not even I thought they'd be here right now. The teams that they've lost to, they lost to the Saints. Obviously we knew they were going to lose to the Ravens and the Niners. But the Dallas Cowboys are now 3-5. Dak Prescott is hurt. He was probably going on IR, which means Cooper Rush comes in. And the worst thing that could happen for Dak Prescott is that Cooper Rush comes in and goes on a 5-game win streak. That is the absolute worst that could happen for Dak Prescott. The worst thing. CeeDee Lamb, I want to tell each and every one of you, gained so much respect from me for how he played Sunday. Playing injured. He looked like Nate Ruffin in We Are Marshall in that final game. His shoulder was hurt so bad that you knocked it and he was grimacing. But yet he was still laying out for the football. He was still giving everything he could. Out there playing, one-armed. Huge, massive respect for CeeDee Lamb. The way he played. I can't say anything else. It was amazing. But now you look, and the Cowboys are sitting there without Dak Prescott. If CeeDee Lamb is out for any amount of time, what does this team have? Cooper Rush came in. Let's just be honest. It was garbage time again, okay? Let's not overthink this. Again, they get cupcake yards, cupcake points. They were really down, and then they, quote unquote, claw their way back to 27-21. It always happens. It always happens with them. Fourth quarter, they're one of the best teams. Yeah, because they're down all the dang time. So let's just put it in perspective here, okay? But what if they've got a legitimate shot here? Go to their schedule and find me 2 wins. Without Dak Prescott. And the team that's currently here right now. Go find me 2 wins. And don't tell me the New York Giants are a pushover. That defensive front can play, and if it's healthy, will play. So don't tell me the Giants are just a pushover. I know everybody's going to count them as a win. Listen, division game. Even with Daniel Jones, what was it in New York? It was 20-15. It won't be any weather next time. It'll be in Dallas. It'll be indoors. I like Tracy, the running back. I like Neighbors, the receiver, obviously. Do not just think that everybody's going to be a pushover. I don't think you can give the Cowboys credit to beat a pushover team the way they should right now. All right, next on the list is the Seattle Seahawks. They're in a dogfight in their division. They're now fourth in their division after the loss to the Rams. They're 4-5. They've got to right the ship. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what they really need. It looks more like a first-year head coach working through everything. Injuries kind of played a factor. DK Metcalf hasn't been around, but you still have Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigma. Like, you still got playmakers. You got Kenneth Walker, so I don't know. Seattle, I feel, really shouldn't do too much. I don't think they need to do a lot right now. Let everything kind of play out. Get to the offseason again. See what you can do. See what you need to fix. Offensive line, secondary, whatever it may be. Let's just keep it moving here. I don't think they need to sell a bunch. I don't think they need to buy a bunch. Keep what you got. Build what you need to build. You're not a bad team. Not a bad team. I think there just needs to be a little bit more patience. You're 4-5. You're all right. You know, being last in your division and 4-5, pretty good. Okay? Pretty good. All right, next will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just lost. They are now 4-5 as well. Like I said, they play the Niners this coming week. That'll be a loss. But their schedule does open up. I believe they do have a chance to start trying to play with maybe the 7th place. Maybe. And you'll see why I say maybe here in a second. San Francisco is 4-4, right above them at 10th in the National Football, or the Conference, NFC. The Rams are now 4-4, right above them. Both of those teams, health is everything. They get healthy, they're dangerous, they can both go on a run, and they can both still finish 11-6. Period. That's as simple as I can put it. The team in front of them in 8th is the Chicago Bears, now at 4-4 as well, but looking worse and worse. They're not looking better. They are looking worse. Caleb Williams scrambling. Did you guys see DJ Moore? I watched that game. Bears and Cardinals. It was on. It was a great day of watching football for me on Sunday. The Bears and Cardinals, when Caleb Williams was scrambling around, DJ Moore was coming back to the football on the sideline that Williams was running to. Williams, instead of throwing DJ Moore the ball, turns around and runs the other way. DJ Moore immediately went to the sidelines, took his helmet off, and sat down before the play was over. Before the play was over. I'm sorry. That is more Chicago Bears than anything else. The Arizona Cardinals absolutely made them look silly on Sunday. And this team was all smoke and mirrors. Matt Eberflus will be fired. Caleb Williams will have his second coach, his second offensive coordinator in year number 2 of his NFL career. It's as simple as I can put it. Now we get to the top 7. Now, here's why I told you the Buccaneers may be able to sniff 7th place. In 7th place right now, the Green Bay Packers at 6-3. The Packers are a really good team. And I can easily see them finishing 11-6. I did tell you in a weather game, the Lions offensive line definitely would win a weather game. Jordan Love had gotten really wild, and what happened? The Packers got rolled in Lambeau. Jordan Love, now 7 straight games with an interception. That's not good. That is not good. You can be a little bit of Brett Favre. Brett Favre was loved in Green Bay. You can be a little Brett Favre, but you can't take yourself out of the entire game by your play. The Lions had a game plan. They came in, they knew what they needed to do, and by golly, they did it. Steamrolled the Packers in Lambeau Field. Packers are now 6-3 in the 7th spot. In the 6th seed, you have 6-2 the Philadelphia Eagles. They are a half game behind the Washington Commanders, who are 7-2. And the first matchup between those two teams is next Thursday night. I don't like it. It's not a great spot for Washington. I really don't like it. But Philadelphia, it depends how this week goes. Philadelphia's got the Cowboys this week. And my thought is that the Cowboys rivalry is going to take a lot more than the Commander rivalry. But if they just breeze by the Cowboys, I think Washington's got a legit shot in Philly to upset them. Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. He knows how to stop Jalen Hurts. If I'm him, I'm blitzing 6 the entire time, forcing Saquon Barkley to block, run blitzing the whole time, and making Jalen Hurts beat me because he can't. The Philadelphia Eagles have a quarterback discrepancy. He cannot beat the big guys. He's not good enough. Saquon Barkley is the star of this team. I mean, a backwards hurdle? Good gosh. Saquon Barkley has his spunk. He's got the hop in his step, obviously. And Saquon's fantastic. But Philadelphia has a quarterback. I mean, could you imagine? This is what was going to happen. If they don't get the interception on that last drive against Jacksonville, if they don't get that interception and Jacksonville scores, you blow a lead at home against a 2-win team at the time and your former head coach, Doug Peterson. Sirianni could have been fired Sunday night. That would have been an epic failure. Sirianni is still going to get fired. If anybody tells you, oh, yeah, they're starting to, they don't believe in him. They don't believe in him for 1 second. Saquon Barkley is what's holding this team together. Jalen Hurts, they've basically taken the football out of his hands and said, you're not going to be the reason we lose. And A.J. Brown can't stay healthy. And guess what? That offense is nothing without A.J. Brown, comparatively. Teams are teeing off on Devontae. And I still think that they're going to end up, only losing 5 games. They'll be 12-5. They can still obviously win the division. But I don't trust them at all in the playoffs. It doesn't matter if they're home or not. Now, a team I do trust, if their quarterback doesn't play reckless is the team that's currently sitting fifth, the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings now at 6-2. Big win at home, Sunday Night Football. Defense played well. Offense started clicking in the second half when Kevin O'Connell decided to rip Sam Darnold's butt and tell him to stop being stupid and run the dang plays and play football the way we're supposed to play football. Legitimately. But I'm sorry. That is all I saw. It really is. That is all I saw. Second half, Darnold wasn't nearly as bad. Didn't make nearly as many mistakes. The team was much, much better in the second half. Scored the touchdowns. Ran the ball. He was in control of that game. And it was all Vikings. They've got the defense to beat anybody. They have the offensive weapons to beat anybody. They also have a quarterback discrepancy. I don't know if I trust them on the road in the playoffs, but it's matchup based. Absolutely matchup based. Like right now, they're sitting 5. Who's sitting 4? The Arizona Cardinals. If somehow the Cardinals were to keep that, I'd pick the Vikings every day. In a dome, I'll take the Vikings. If the Falcons end up being 4, they're currently 3, I'd probably take the Vikings. In a dome, I think they could do it. On the road in weather, I don't. Defensive players lose speed outside. They gain speed inside. So let's talk about number 4, the Arizona Cardinals. So I was doing some digging this morning. Going back to when Jonathan Gannon was hired. People that knew him really well in the coaching positions that he had been in before said he will be a better coach than he is a coordinator. And I didn't think he was a great coordinator. I thought he was, okay, but I didn't, you're maybe between 15 and 20. But I didn't think he was great. But everybody that knew him told the Cardinal organization he can win. He's got a lot of Harbaugh-esque tendencies and demeanors of how he will handle the team. And when they're talking Harbaugh, they're talking John Harbaugh more than Jim Harbaugh. So be patient. Let him work through stuff. He'll be okay. Now, I was, beginning of the year, the offseason, I said, I don't know why they didn't fire him. I would have gone out and gotten Pete Carroll. But looks like maybe I was wrong. He does have the defense playing well. They made a trade today for Baron Browning from the Broncos, which is interesting because the Broncos are in the playoff hunt. But they did make the trade for Baron Browning today to shore up the linebacker position. Solid move. It's not one that may change multiple games, but I think it can give you an extra game. Your defense looked really good against the Bears. They've played really, really good at home. They play their division opponents really well. They're sitting at 5-4. Listen, I can't count Arizona out except for the fact that the Rams and the 49ers are now getting really healthy. If Christian McCaffrey comes back and is fully healthy, a healthy Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey spells doom for the Cardinals. A healthy Rams team with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua dooms the Cardinals. They will not finish above either one of those two teams. But I do think Gannon deserves credit. They could win 7-8 games. And I believe that it is a very good jump for year number 2. And he deserves the opportunity to coach year number 3. I'll admit, I may be wrong on this guy. We'll see in year 3, obviously. But Cardinals, we're going to give them credit. The Atlanta Falcons, hey, they sacked Dak Prescott early. Got pressure on him early. Very finesse type of team. Big hits late in the game. Jesse Bates is an absolute stud. I love him. I don't know if I trust Kirk Cousins when it comes down to it, though. Yesterday, comfortable. The Cowboys gained more yards because of the defensive plays, gained more yards than the Falcons, but the Falcons get the W. And they needed to. They absolutely needed to. They are now sitting there in third position in the NFC at 6-3. They're already 4-0 in their own division, by the way. They got wins over the Buccaneers twice, the Saints, and the Panthers. So, yeah, their grasp on that division. They got the Saints and the Panthers left this year. I'm sorry, Panther fans. Hey, you're not going to beat them. Saints, obviously, they're going to be selling off. They're not going to be beating them. So they'll be 6-0 in the division. So at minimum, the Falcons will get 8 wins. I still think they end up at 12-5. And I don't know if I fully trust them in the playoffs, but they're exactly what we thought they were going to be. Bijan Robinson's really good. Drake London's really good. Darnell Mooney's been really good. Kyle Pitts is really good. Kirk Cousins just has to not turn the ball over, and they can win. Now, the top 2 teams, and we're gonna split this up. How about this? First half in review, NFC this one. Tomorrow's podcast, first half in review. We'll do AFC tomorrow. We're going to split this up. I want to make sure we can talk about some more stuff when it comes to each of these teams here at the end. But the second place team in the NFC right now is the Washington Commanders. And right now, all you see out of the Commanders is consistency. You're not going to beat them easy. They fight really hard. They believe. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat. They're 2-0 against the Giants. Well, that's 2-0, by the way. 2-0 is 2-0. 2 wins in the division. You got 4 left. 2 against the Eagles, 2 against the Cowboys. And honestly, I think they beat the Cowboys both times. I think on Thanksgiving Day, Jerry will get embarrassed by his former defensive coordinator, and that could spell the doom of Mike McCarthy. I know Jerry doesn't like in-season firings and stuff. If Jaden Daniels embarrasses the Cowboys on national television on Thanksgiving in Jerry World and Dan Quinn just destroys them, to me that is doom for Mike McCarthy. To me that's doom for Mike McCarthy. But I like the Commanders. They're 7-2 right now. They put themselves in a really good position. Let's say they split with the Eagles, and for sake of argument, they split with the Cowboys. That puts them at 9-4. I could see them going 3-1 with their other games, maybe 2-2. If they go 2-2, they're at 11-6. The same record that we've got the Packers potentially at. The same record we've got potentially the Minnesota Vikings. So the wild card spot becomes really interesting. It's also the same place we got maybe the Rams and the Niners. So my real thought is with Washington, you need to win 12. I think you win 12, you're in the playoffs right now in the NFC for sure. What's going to be wild is a swap that we've had. Multiple 12-win teams may get in and be left out of the NFC when we thought this was going to be a weak conference this year. But the coaching's been fantastic. We thought this was going to be a weaker conference, and it's turned out to be a really strong one, and it could take 11, 12 wins. I don't see a 10-7 team making the playoffs in the NFC. The only way I see that is if the Rams, even right now, the Packers, The Vikings, Eagles, and Commanders would have to basically drop how they are playing. Now, is it possible? Absolutely. The Commanders are still young. Let's just be honest here. They're still young. Let's not take that away from them. They get the ability to have growing pains. They can have growing pains. They don't need to be perfect right now. They can have growing pains. But I think right now, you don't see a team that's going to win less than 11 games. I don't. I don't really see the Packers going less than 11-6. Or the Vikings. I mean, that would be 5-4 down the stretch for the Vikings. Going 11-6. Same thing for the Eagles. That'd be going 5-4. Like, I'm sorry, I can't. If the Falcons go 4-4, they're 10-7. Now they win a division, but they're 10-7. And every single one of these teams that we've talked about is chasing the best team in the NFL. Every single one of these teams is chasing the best team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. There's not even a debate. Do not come at me with your stupid Kansas City Chiefs talk. They're undefeated. They've played a ton of teams that have been decimated by everything. Detroit has beat everybody. Everybody gets one stinker a year. Remember, everybody gets one bad game a year. Detroit has had their bad game. Baltimore's had 2, if not 3. I said the division game, I'm going to be like it was a division game. It's still the Browns. And your back-end defense hasn't looked great. So, you know, the Lions right now are looking like they're going to get Zadarius Smith from Cleveland. That trade should go official today. That should be one of the trades that goes official today. They will get Zadarius Smith from the Cleveland Browns to replace Aiden Hutchinson. So they're going to improve their defense. Now, I don't think they can improve their offense much, not going to lie. I don't think they need to touch their offense at all. Jared Goff is playing well. They don't play outdoors again, I think, until December. They have indoor games from now until then. I know they come to Indianapolis. That's one of their road dome games. They believe they go to... trying to figure out where... I think they go to Atlanta. As another one of their dome games. So they've got... They're sitting in a dome. Their next outside game isn't until December. End of December. This team is the best team in the NFL. They can have some interesting games. They are a little bit moody. I'll give you that one. They can have some interesting games. But come on. Dan Campbell knew this game meant a lot. This is how Dan Campbell's a great coach and why Shane Steichen for the Indianapolis Colts sucks. Because in the biggest game on the road, he knows we already beat the Vikings. We have to beat the Packers on the road. In division, this game matters. This is it. It's huge for our standings in the division. We can take full control of the division with a win on the road in Lambeau Field. Absolutely crappy weather, and they did it. They absolutely did it. The Detroit Lions have the best offensive line in the NFL. They have the best running back room in the NFL. There is no doubt, no argument whatsoever that you can say to go against that. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, best two running backs in the NFL. The play caller is fantastic, and they look the part. They look the part. And I can't wait. I cannot wait. Division games are rough. They could lose one of these division games. You know, that easily could happen. Division games are division games. But I think they roll the rest of the NFC. They get the number one seed. And this year, the Super Bowl goes through Detroit. And at home in the playoffs, I'll take them. I will take Detroit. All right, let's wrap this up. What do we got? 41 minutes. Okay, let's spend 3 minutes on this and we'll do our closeout. Head coaches that could be fired at the end of the year. Dennis Allen is already fired. Brian Daboll has been assured his job, so has Joe Schoen, with the Giants by the Mara family. Okay, I don't think Daboll's going to get fired. I think because of how they play, Mara sees he needs a quarterback. And they could flip some of these games. So I don't think Daboll gets fired. Dennis Allen's already fired. That's one. Dave Canales, if David Temper fires Dave Canales, I would implore every coach to not go near Carolina. I would not fire Dave Canales. Now, would it be a David Temper move to fire Canales? Yes. Yes, it would. I don't think he should. I'm hoping he won't, so I'm going to say no. Mike McCarthy is fired. He's done. Spit roast done. Period. Obviously, Mike McDonald in Seattle, unless there's some sort of collapse player, unless something happens, he's not going to get fired. McVay ain't going to get fired. Shanahan won't get fired. Matt Eberflus will be done. Matt Eberflus will be fired at the end of the season. I don't really think there's much he can do at this point. The team looks so bad. He has not won a road game on a Sunday yet. 0-18. That's bad. Okay? It's bad. In other words, if you're on the road on Sunday, the Bears are going to lose. That's what it means. That's simple. The Falcons, Raheem Morris is safe. I think Gannon right now, everything that has happened, I believe, leads to he stays. Matt LaFleur stays. Kevin O'Connell stays. Nick Sirianni will be fired. We've been over this multiple times. I'm not going to belabor that fact at this point. Nick Sirianni is that bad. He will be fired. The organization doesn't trust him. Ownership doesn't trust him. Quinn, nobody's going to touch him. Not Dan Quinn, safer than safe, and so is Dan Campbell. The Dans are safe. The Dans are 100% safe. So in the NFC, barring Tepper being stupid, and barring a collapse by any individual team, because the collapses sometimes happen, you never know why, and the coach ends up paying for it. Dennis Allen is 1, Mike McCarthy 2, Eberflus 3, Sirianni 4. 4 of the 16 teams will, in my estimation, 100% be open. Carolina shouldn't be, but could be. Shouldn't be, but could be. So there we go. The second half check-in for the NFC. It is trade day. By the time this podcast comes out, who knows what trades will happen. I'm sure we'll get to them tonight when we open up the AFC, or I should say tomorrow, when we open up the AFC check-in podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't want to belabor this. I appreciate you all hanging out. Make sure to subscribe, like the podcast, ring the notification bell. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. I will talk to you tomorrow afternoon as we look at the AFC. And until tomorrow, for Sports Talk with Hawk, I am Hawk, and I'm out.